In this video, I want to talk about a very useful feature of WordPress, but an easily misunderstood one, namely hooks. A hook is really just a point at which extra code can be added or existing data can be changed. These are points usually within the WordPress core files, but they can be in theme files, as we'll see in a moment. And these hooks are used by plugin developers in particular, but also theme developers, to really change the way WordPress works or the data it's working with. And the best example of this is plugins. What makes plugins great is you literally plug them in. You hook them into WordPress. That means you're not changing WordPress itself, you're simply adding to it. And if you can hook it, you can unhook it or unplug it. And that's what makes them so very, very powerful and keeps WordPress clean at the core, but allows you to add on functionality. Same with theme development. You can tap into the WordPress core without actually touching it. Now, as I said, most hooks are inside those core files, but there are some in theme files. In fact, there are a couple that absolutely have to be there or you're in big trouble. The first of those hooks is WP head. You have to place this just before the closing head tag in your HTML. It's got to be in there because this is where WordPress and plugins and themes as well will add things in to the head area. So you've got to have that. Same with the footer. You've got to have WP footer in there just before the closing body tag. If you're creating a theme from scratch, in other words, these have to appear in your theme files, in your header and your footer files. Now, there are different kinds of hooks. There are two types. Action hooks, where you add or remove actions, the point at which you add or remove actions. And then there are filter hooks, the point at which you add or remove filters. Now, what do we mean by actions and filters? Let's take a look first at actions. An action, remember, is new code that's going to be executed, something new we're adding in. So we first of all, and you always do this both with actions and with filters, you have to create a function first of all. Now what can get a little bit confusing is you'll hear people sometimes refer to this line right here as the action hook. Or in fact this whole section right here, they might call that the action hook. In fact, this is the hook right here. This is the action hook here. And what we're doing in this line, the whole line, is we're adding an action to it. In other words, the hook is the point where you add an action or add a filter. And then we specify what action we're adding. It's this one right here, which is nothing less than this entire function, which by the way is creating a widget area. Filters, exact same sort of thing. You've got to create yourself a function first of all, and it can be very, very simple. In this case, all we're doing is literally specifying a quantity, a number. Now what we're doing is we're taking this filter hook right here called excerpt length, and we're adding a filter to it. And the filter is this right here, this particular function we created, which is just a number. So think of it this way from WordPress's standpoint. WordPress goes to the database and says, what's the excerpt length I should use? Oh, the default is 55. Okay, I'll use 55. But wait, before I do that, let me ask, does anybody want to change the length? That's where the hook is. The hook's waiting there saying, anybody want to add a filter to this? Yes, we do. In fact, we're adding this filter called 2010 excerpt length, which says, change that 55 to a 40. So again, I've not actually modified anything in WordPress. I've just filtered some of the data that it's using. And that's very, very powerful. Now I talked earlier about adding and removing hooks. We've talked about adding, obviously, but why remove? Why would you be removing one of these? Well, the reason is in child themes, things have already been done by the parent's function file. Okay? Many filters or actions have been added. If you don't want to use them, you have to remove them first before you add your own. In terms of what hooks are available to you, WordPress has a couple of points. The action reference page and the filter reference page. So this will go through and show you all the types of filter hooks you can work with. And the same with the actions. All the different places you can insert new actions. So there's a lot of power here for you to work with WordPress itself and actually modify and change it, but without actually working in the WordPress files.